You know, these days I heard something pretty interesting. I heard that the most important commodity in the world today is not oil or soybeans or corn, but data. Yes, data. And I've been covering a company, a stock here on my channel, that I think is absolutely crucial for this increasingly digital world we are entering. Its name is Reklaim, and I've already made 3 videos about it. And today I will show you several pieces of different interviews the CEO has done so we can better understand this company. And if you're not sure about watching this video or not, well, here's my opinion. I think this can be a massive investment opportunity. And by the way, nothing in this video is investment advice, okay? Now, I'm personally invested in this company. I actually just bought more Reklaim shares this month. So yeah, I think it's definitely worth taking some time to understand this business. Anyway, let's begin. So first, let's hear the CEO explaining what exactly Reklaim does.
So what Reklaim does, this business was created about 6 years ago, and we set out to really try to give consumers more control and access to the data that is currently circulating on them. So inside of Reklaim, which is an application which you can download in both the United States and Canada, consumers can come to Reklaim, put in an email address or a phone number, verify who they say they are. And then once they've done that, what we will do is we will show them the profile that is currently circulating on them online. They can then reclaim that, hence the name, into an identity wallet that is controlled by them. Inside of this identity wallet, they can edit and correct any information that might be out there. They can add additional data, and most importantly, they can then choose to consent and option that data directly to a brand, a platform, a company, an AI model, and receive direct compensation when it's used. So that's it. So we feel like we're democratizing data for consumers. We think we're the only company in the world that's doing it, and it's been a lot of work, but it's paying off.
And I also liked this other description.
We started this company about a half a dozen years ago, really to give consumers a seat at the table as it relates to their data. I think everybody can appreciate that they have a data profile. Most people can probably understand that that data is being collected, used to power a number of businesses. But the gap that we've always felt in the market is that, you know, this is consumer property, and consumers really have no visibility or optionality around that. So the creation of Reklaim was to give consumers a seat at the table. You can come to Reklaim today, which you can find in the App Store, verify you are who you say you are. We will show you all of the data that is circulating on you on the internet today. You can then reclaim it into an identity wallet controlled by you, at which point you can edit it, add to it, and then option it directly to a brand and receive compensation directly in the form of cash, crypto, charitable donations, etc., for if and when it's actually used. So we believe we're the only company in the world that's providing this solution, and we've been doing it for a while now.
So as you may have already understood, Reklaim operates as the Uber of personal data, connecting sellers of personal data, which means us, normal internet users, to buyers of personal data, which are companies. Now, it's very clear why people would want to use Reklaim. First, to see what data of theirs is floating out there on the internet. And secondly, to make money. After all, we all want to make money without lifting a finger, just by selling our data. On the other hand, why would companies want to buy data from Reklaim?
What kinds of companies are trying to work with you to help people take back their data, and what's in it for them as well?
Well, I mean, I think obviously for the consumer, the obvious part here is you can choose to be part of Reklaim and have some control and optionality around your data, or you can choose not to be part of Reklaim, in which case you are basically giving up all control of your data. For companies, there's a couple of things that are happening. Naturally, every company in the world is using data to make decisions. The better the quality of the data, the better the outcome or the better result of the use of that data. So that's kind of obvious. Everybody understands that. I think, though, that one of the things that's been happening and one of the thesis of Reklaim has been the $700 billion data market, which is what we operated in today, has historically operated with really no consumer inclusion. You could amalgamate, collect as much data on consumers really as you wanted. That's changed. And so it started in it actually started in Europe with the implementation of a privacy bill called GDPR. That has migrated to the United States and Canada. And what we've seen is that there's now kind of 19 states that have enacted privacy laws that are forcing you to include the consumer. This is the disruptive element of this $700 billion market. One, it initially didn't have any consumer inclusion. Now it requires consumer inclusion. So all of these companies that have historically been buying data are forced to go to the market to find a partner that can provide them with the data at scale, but also can conform or adhere to really all of these new privacy legislation.
So in summary, companies will have a legal need to buy compliant data because of a big change that's happening in the privacy regulation world.
There's been some changes in the market over the last 12 months where the data laws historically have been, you can accumulate all this data unbeknownst to a consumer, amalgamate it, arbitrage it, and sell it. Those days are over. So just in the same way that we've seen these macro transitions from combustion engine to EV or from bricks and mortar to online, the same macro trend is happening in data. Going forward, you will not be able to collect and use data without consumer inclusion. Period.
So you heard the guy. That's what's changing in the regulation. So if back then you could collect people's data without their consent, now things are starting to get different. Now companies need the user's consent to use their data. So I believe this will create a massive demand for compliant data. And as we've seen, Reklaim is the only game in town. Now let's understand a little bit more about these regulations. So as you've heard, these privacy regulations started in Europe and then spread to the US. California was the first state to adopt this kind of law, but was soon followed by others. And this trend is rapidly spreading. Now, let me play a video for you about these regulations so you can see that they are indeed for real. This video is about California's privacy law, which came into effect in 2020. So this video is from that time. It is a little bit long, okay? It's about 3 minutes, but I think it's important because it shows us how concrete these regulations are indeed.
In Privacy Watch, if you live in California, you may already be seeing emails from tech companies announcing changes to their terms of service. That's because the country's most powerful privacy protections law will go into effect on New Year's Day. California's Consumer Privacy Act gives Golden State residents a slew of new rights related to user data. New regulations aim to provide more control over the personal information that companies regularly collect and sell. Joan Salzman is a senior reporter covering media and technology for CNET, and she joins me now from New York City. Joan, thanks very much for being with us. What kinds of new protections does the California Consumer Privacy Act actually give people?
The act gives Californians the right to ask tech companies what kind of data they're collecting on them. They can request for that data to be deleted, and they can also tell companies don't sell that data to other people and make money off of it.
Right. So California is home to some major tech companies, of course. How are they reacting to this new law, and will they comply with it?
Pretty much all tech companies are scrambling and grappling with exactly how they're going to be enabling themselves to comply with this law. It's something that they haven't had to do before to this degree. They don't exactly know how it's going to be enforced, and they're not going to be getting the regulations finalized that really determine how it's going to be enforced until later. And of course, if they see companies getting sued for things that they're doing, that's going to change their behavior as well.
Well, can you explain what this might actually look like for someone in California that's using an app or a website that collects their data?
Yeah, you're probably going to start seeing notices, things that say, do not sell my info. You may start seeing portals or tools that allow you to access data, allow you to request it, allow you to delete it. But it's going to be a very wide variation among the different apps and services, internet companies that you interact with, depending on how they all figure out exactly what they're going to do to comply with this new regulation.
Well, let's talk about consent versus informed consent. It seems like people will now have a greater ability to make choices about how companies use their data. Do people really understand what they're agreeing to when they allow a company to use and sell their data, and what the potential consequences can be?
Generally speaking, no. People don't really know what they're getting into when they agree to let companies protect their data. And that's not their fault. The internet and tech companies, they've evolved from this default status that you may create the data, but it doesn't belong to you. It belongs to the company that stores it and holds it, and it's their right to sell it and use it as they want. That's been the default for how many tech companies and the internet has evolved. It's only recently that consumers have started to become unnerved by the trade-offs. Yes, you get convenience or more targeted advertising if a company has data on you, but you're not in control over what they do with that data. It's only recently that consumers have started to say, wait a second, I don't know if I really agree to this exchange.
Right, I imagine a pretty seismic shift for these tech companies.
So that's what's been happening. The regulation environment is changing, and I believe this will create a massive need for Reklaim service. Now, let's better understand Reklaim's business.
Yeah, so on the Reklaim side of the equation, it's a free product. We get paid by the brand who chooses who you select to actually use your data. So simplistically, if General Motors was going to buy, Tim's data, Tim pays us. General Motors would facilitates the payment through us, and we take a percentage of that sale, just in the same way that an Airbnb or an Uber would. And then if General Motors decides to buy Neil's data, same thing. Neil's data goes to General Motors. Reklaim takes a percentage associated to that. So it's a very asset-light model as it relates to how we run. And so it's really, our revenue model is dependent upon the amount of data that is transacting in the platform. And if more data is transacting in the platform, we make more money because we take a percentage on every piece of data that's actually transacted. So very simple model for people to understand.
So as we've seen, Reklaim operates as a marketplace, but it also has a software as a service business division.
On the AI bot, which is sort of the new product, that product will be a $1 a month subscription. That's the SaaS model. But the product that has been operating for the last 5+ years, there's no cost associated to that. The ancillary product, which is the privacy assistant, if you want to sign up for that, that will cost you $1 a month.
And I know that many people here will think that $1 is not a big deal, but the point here is to make this business division gain traction.
It's about market share. You want to get market share and velocity. Once you get market share and velocity, you can change the price if you want to, but there's no point in charging something $5 or $10 when you have nobody in the product. You got to get people in the product, and then you can kind of iterate from there. So there's an incentive to get people in early because it's inexpensive, but the price will go up over time.
And here's another video I liked about Reklaim's software as a service business division.
I think what we've started to realize is that there is a subset of individuals that don't want to sell their data, and that there is a subset of individuals that care more about things like privacy and security and data breaches, etc. Well, inside of Reklaim, as this has been iterating, what we found is that you can reclaim your data into the product, choose to be compensated for it, or choose to be protected. And what that would mean would be, if you were not interested in compensation, you can come into Reklaim, you can sign up for a SaaS-based product which says, with my data now in Reklaim, can you monitor it on the dark web? Can you tell me if it's been breached? Can you tell me if there's phishing things? And then if there is an interaction with your data, the large language model of Reklaim will tell you that, in which then it allows you to interact with it to say, you were discovered in the Ticketmaster data breach. Would you like to change your password? Would you like to look for class actions? Would you like to enroll? Would you like to do a device detection or security report? So we think that the foundation of Reklaim, which we've really built over the last number of years, has created a huge opportunity for us to build these ancillary types of services that also touch on things like privacy and security and identity and verification. And it all really comes from the same concept of, when the data is in your control, you really can, you can kind of offer a bunch of different services. So I'm interested in that. I think that's going to be super exciting for 2025, but it doesn't take away from the core business. Just important to note, but the core business is growing, and there's these ancillary products that are being added to the mix.
So, in other words, you can pay Reklaim to monitor if your data has been leaked. And in case that indeed happens, Reklaim even shows you if there are lawsuits against that specific company, so you can join. So I guess you've probably understood what Reklaim is about, right? And the market size potential for this company is simply huge.
And we're talking about a $700 billion market. So there's a massive, massive transition that's going on here. And to put it in perspective, it's a $700 billion market. It also has there's 8 billion consumers in the world today. Every single one of them has a data profile that they could potentially take advantage of.
So that's why I believe this company may see unbelievable growth, because its addressable market is simply massive. Now, talking about Reklaim's clients, though Reklaim is still a small company, it already works with some pretty big names.
We service everybody from General Motors to UPS to Bayer. These are Fortune 500 companies that are using this high quality, compliant data to make decisions regarding their advertising and marketing. And other companies are really using it to either train or power models.
Now, Reklaim CEO just mentioned something very important about the use of Reklaim when it comes to training models. Think about AI. Everybody knows that AI is growing exponentially. But the thing is that you need data to train AI models.
In order for AI to be effective, it needs to train. What does it train on? Data. Whose data? Your data. AI is on a massive, massive collision course with privacy in much the same way that the social networks were on a collision course with privacy. So that's, to me, where I sort of think that the opportunity exists going forward, is that you as a consumer having some control and optionality around your data allows you to participate in a variety of things. But I think as you get into the future, is it possible that consumers could be sharing their data to individual companies to help them train internal AI models? I think that's almost inevitable. And so the question then becomes, who are the companies that are going to allow you to do that?
So that's why I said in the beginning of this video that the most important commodity in the world today is not oil or soybeans, but data. Because it's data what powers AI, and it's data what powers this digital world. Now, I don't know if you are seeing the size of this opportunity, but I can't stop thinking that the addressable market for Reklaim service is just mind-blowing. But anyway, let's close this video now talking about some financial stuff.
Are you profitable?
We are profitable. So let's just give everybody kind of a couple of the top level metrics, because they're going to want to know this stuff. So yeah, we're profitable. In 2023, we went from losing $4 or $5 million in 2022 to making $1 million approximately in 2023. So a $5 to $6 million swing, 80% margin, 90% reoccurring revenue, positive cash flow. Fast forward to 2024, you're going to grow kind of 30 to 50%, 80% margin, expanding positive cash flow, EBITDA positive, net profit positive, all good.
And lastly, don't be surprised if this company eventually gets to NASDAQ.
At some point, can you see uplisting to a senior exchange?
Yes, for sure. I don't want to be down here forever. That's for sure. Like, my plan is to not be a small cap forever. You got to start somewhere. The plan is to absolutely kind of move on the board. We'd love to be on NASDAQ. We know what kind of comes with that. We're just too small right now to do it. So we keep doing what we think we're going to do. Then at some point or another, we'll be ready for that. But that's the goal, 100%.
Now imagine at what kind of multiples a company like this with such a massive potential would trade on NASDAQ. You think these guys wouldn't have NASDAQ attention? A company with an incredible network effect, presenting super growth, with huge margins, already profitable, already generating cash. Could this company trade at 10 times revenue? Well, I think so. At 20 times revenue? Well, maybe more. So that's why I'm focusing my energy and money on buying as many Reklaim shares as I possibly can. And well, that's it for today. Again, nothing in this video is investment advice, okay? And see you next time.